you went through one of the most difficult things that people can ever go through.
Oh man, I don't even know where to start. Because of all of the stresses in life, I stopped picking up a camera. My life wasn't reflecting that of what I'd always hoped it would be. That comes with a lot of weight. It's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
Has that changed your photography style?
To be honest, when people are looking for their voice in photography, if people are stuck at that crossroads, I think one of the greatest questions you can ask yourself is,
welcome to the Mood Podcast, uncovering the art of conversation through the lens of photography and creativity, one frame at a time. I'm your host, Matt Jacob, and thank you for joining me. Today's guest is Cam Vaughne. Cam was my first ever guest on the show, and this episode was more of a tip of the cap to him and the nostalgia of starting this podcast exactly 2 years ago with him. I have a lot of time for Cam. He's my friend, and he's a fantastic photographer who has immersed himself in different cultures and holds similar interests to me when it comes to the human experience. Cam's recent journey through some traumatic personal experiences has really grounded himself as a human and as a more inspired and reflective artist. And that's really where we start the conversation, moving then on to the impact of things like tourism around the world and our roles as photographers to help document the rapid changing landscapes of global and populist issues. So now I bring you Cam Vaughne. Bro. Cam Vaughne. I remember we spoke when we first had a chat 2 years ago. I was like, how do I say your last name? Cam Vaughne, right?
Yeah, Vaughne.
Cam Vaughne.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Mood Podcast again.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
So this is a special episode because you are one of the first guys to come back, but also it's been 2 years to the day since we did the first episode.
God, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
How far you've come.
Yeah, well, we're still grinding, but it's
that's how you know you're doing something right.
It's been a journey of which you've been a part of it. So thank you to you.
Oh man, I'm honored to be a part of it. It's cool.
Man. Tell me what's been going on. 2 years has gone by.
Yeah,
Tell me your story.
Man, 2 years. God, we were just saying this. I feel like it's been 10. A whole lot happens in 2 years in Bali. It ages us.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't even know where to start with a question like that. 2 years, geez, what year is it now? 2025. Yeah, lots happened, man. A lot of shifts in my work life. A lot of shifts in my personal life. Yeah, but still cracking on, still moving, still here, still breathing.
What are you doing at the moment in terms of photography? How does your kind of business model look at the moment? Man,
it's actually, things have changed so much in regards to like how I'm actually approaching photography, and especially as a business. To be honest, like it's turned into more, I feel like I've reverted back, and it's exactly what I needed after the period that I've had. And I'm just shooting for fun, recreationally, having a good time, just going out with friends and shooting whatever I feel like shooting, not taking on a whole lot of projects, not taking on a whole lot of clients. They, come here and there, it pays the bills, but just going back to the roots of why I started doing this. And that's the creative outlet, and just being able to actually enjoy picking up a camera and feel pride out of the things that I'm shooting, and hopefully shooting things that are giving people a little bit of insight into the experiences that we're having here in Indonesia, here in Bali, and in other places that I'm traveling to. So it's been really good.
So you pick up a camera, where do you go? What do you do? What's
pick a direction.
Just pick a direction and see.
Yeah, pick a time of the morning. If I'm feeling ambitious, we get out there real early and just pick a direction and go until we see something that catches my attention. Park the bike, walk, take some photos, drink some tuak, smoke a couple of gudang garams, and
no one knows what you're talking about at the moment.
Chat with some locals, some palm wine and filterless, disgusting, soupy cigarettes.
So what was the shift? How is photography kind of worked as maybe a healing tool, or a grounding tool that's allowed you to go and find out and go and be better at whatever you're trying to be better at?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Honestly, that's the answer is kind of in the question. Like, that's exactly what it's been. It's been a healing tool. So for a while, like, I had things, just get this out of the way. And in my personal life, I had my marriage, a relationship of 15 years come to an end. A lot of changes in my life. My whole family moved here. There's a lot of positives, but also stresses that come along with things like that. And because of all of the stresses in life, I stopped picking up a camera, and I felt like I was only grabbing it in times of work. So when I had somebody else's direction, somebody telling me what they wanted me to shoot, what they wanted me to do. And I feel like when you're caught in that wheel, when you're caught in that cycle, it just, you lose the fire, you lose the passion. And so I probably went, man, there's two things in my life that really bring me a lot of joy on like a hobby level, right?
Other than this podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Once every 2 years, get my fulfillment. And that's both photography and surfing. And those are two things that I completely stopped doing. I hadn't touched the water in ages. Boards were just collecting dust. My camera equipment was only getting used for work purposes. And with that, I started to feel empty, really, really empty. And I lost those things being an outlet. And as time went on, I have, thankfully, an amazing community of people. That's one of the biggest blessings about living in a place like this and doing what we do, right? There's so many people who are here sharing a similar mindset and a similar outlook, similar passions and interests. And I had a lot of friends, a few in particular, who really stepped up for me and noticed the state that I was in and pulled me out. And one of them is sitting in this room right now.
And it's not me.
Jord Hammond sitting off in the corner, judging. But no, honestly, Jord was a major part in that, just noticing where I was and what I was going through and saying, man, what are you doing? Get up. Like, this is not you. This isn't, the you that we all know and love. Like, and what you're missing is just...
Who was that? Tell us.
Jord.
No, but who was the guy that was different? What give us some clarity as to kind of what you were going through at that time.
I was just a sado, man.
Right. Not going out, not
doing
drinking,
anything,
smoking.
No,
all of
yeah.
it.
Like, I mean, I had, so yeah, I mean, that's a good place to go with this, I guess. Leading up to, I guess, I'll call it the downfall or whatever, what, my downhill trajectory, for the lack of a better term. Before that, I had just gotten I felt myself stuck in this trap that's very often, really sticky here, which is the social scene, and when you're here for a long period of time, I mean, I've been here almost a decade now and called this place home for almost 10 years. And in that period, there's just so many distractions. It's very easy to live a fun and chaotic life because there's so much happening. Everyone's coming in and out. There's always an event. There's always a dinner. There's always a party. There's always friends who want your attention and people who might not deserve your attention, who you're giving your attention to. And I was getting dragged into situations that just took me way out of my comfort zone and not in a good way. I'm a strong component of, going outside of your comfort zone, but when it's changing who you are and changing your outlook on things that mean a lot to you, then it becomes a poison. And that was partying, going out and just indulging too much in the distractions that a lively, vibrant place like this island can come with. And with that, I started to lose sight of who I was and what I love to do, and was prioritizing these events and parties as an escape, and then things happened the way that they happened, and my life it felt like it slowly, not to go on, we can cue the tiny violin, right? But I felt like things were just things just, my life wasn't reflecting that of what I'd always hoped it would be, and that comes with a lot of weight. And when you feel disappointed in yourself and what you're doing, it becomes really difficult to do anything that makes you feel better. So if I know that going out and grabbing my board and going for a paddle will make me feel better, I'm not going to do it, because it's like you get to this point of self-sabotage, where the things that you love become the things that you're most afraid of, because they'll pull you out of that feeling, that validation of like, I'm sad, I'm depressed.
Yeah, you almost, I don't want to say you enjoy being like that, but there's like a desire to keep being like that, to be depressed, to be, at rock bottom. It's like, no, fuck all this. I know what can help me get better, but I choose to be this way. It's almost like it's exactly that self-sabotage. And I'm talking about this. I don't want to put you on the spot because I know it's difficult, but I wanted to talk about this because of people watching, people listening who might have experienced the same things. I mean, there's no like playing violins about it. You went through one of the most difficult things that people can ever go through, right? So, I think it's important that you've come out the other side, which is hugely inspirational, and congratulations for, getting through something so difficult. But it's important to understand, how you came out of it. But in order to understand how you came out of it, we kind of want to know how you got into it, but what it was like being that type of person. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You talked about friends that kind of help pull you out. Give us a bit more specifics. Like, give us a little ingredient that, was it one day you kind of had a seminal moment, like, right, I'm up, I'm out?
I feel like I had a couple moments like that. Like it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle, right? Where you feel like you're on an upward trajectory and somebody pulls you out, and someone's there to be there and, take you out to do the things that, you really want to do and the things that make you happy. And then when that person, maybe you almost start to repel the things that are helping you, it's just that, yeah, like we said before, it's self-sabotaging. And, but having persistent people in your life who really want to see the best out of you, is just the most encouraging and uplifting thing you can possibly have. And that's a place where I know for myself, I have to give myself a lot of credit, and I'll happily do that over the years, having moved away, like so many of us have done, coming here to Bali, coming here to Indonesia, or going to any other country from where they're from, you're forced to go out and create a family and create, community. And I'm very proud of the community that I've built, because these people they stuck by me, and they made sure that I wasn't going too deep into my own mind, and pulling me into the things that they knew I should be doing. So very grateful for myself and them.
Yeah. And so you should be. But has that experience, if you look back over, I guess the year sandwich, I guess, between you being on the show and now.
Yeah.
Has that changed your photography style? Has it changed it must have changed your outlook on the creative process.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I think that shift was already starting even before all of my personal life, things were starting to happen. I was taking I mean, I think we talked about it last time, like, COVID played a massive part in my approach to photography, where we were stuck, right?
Yeah. In paradise.
Yeah. Arguably one of the best times of my life. Sorry, everyone who maybe didn't feel the same.
I'm very envious. I'm very envious of you guys being here.
You
that
weren't
time.
here. That's
No.
right, man.
No.
Yeah. Well, it was an amazing time that where you saw a massive shift, where this island was going from just this mass tourism hub, and then all of a sudden everything was quiet and desolate. And the only people who were here, I read this statistic the other day. What was it? I might butcher this. Correct me, or you can put up if it's wrong, but fact check me. But I think it was like during COVID, there was maybe 1,500 expats, foreigners who were living on the island. So I think that metric was based on people who had a kitas, like an actual residence here, or a legal visa.
So in reality, probably about 10,000.
Yeah, probably more. But fast forward to 2022, I think it was, or no, 2023, there were over 750,000.
Oh my goodness.
So that number, like if you can imagine, like the accessibility and what we were experiencing when we were here before, it was this feeling of there weren't many of us, and the ones who were here, everyone it forced integration with the local community. It forced everyone to kind of come together and be in this together. Now, the restrictions weren't crazy. I feel like the Indonesian government would kind of drunk text the whole country on a Friday and be like, okay, guys, we're going to close down this, and this. Everything's all the roads, all the restaurants, and like nothing's going to be open. There's a curfew, blah, blah, blah. They'd set out all of these rules and then close the government offices. And then on Monday, they'd come on, and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram would be all these people just, what do you mean, blah, 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 we're not abiding by this. And then the government would be like, whoa, hold on. That's not what we meant. And then they would amend it immediately and be like, oh, no. And it would change and everything would open back up again. But and going back to what I was saying before, it forced this integration where all of us were just in this together. And that feeling just resonated so deeply with me and caused me to really take time when we had the ability to drive around the island, because things stayed relatively open. Maybe like restaurants and bars and stuff like that were closed, but you still had the free reign and the accessibility to drive and experience Bali. And during that time, I was just myself, Jord, and a few other people who were all here together. We just set off, and I would even go on my own. I remember the first Galungan during COVID. I set off with the intention of, I packed a bag with a camera and said I was going to go out for 1 week and just see where like the road took me. I'd go from one village to the next to meet a family there, and then they'd say, oh, I have an uncle over in Bulalang, go over there. I'd go over there, and then they'd say, oh, well, we know these people in Negara, they're doing an event there, go over there. I'd go over there, just sleeping on people's floors, breaking bread with locals, and spending as much time as I could with the local community. And that inspired this new revitalization within me and my photography journey to just capture Bali the way that I was seeing it. And I fell in love with the people. And I fell deeply in love with this island, and it gave me so much during that time. So that's where that change really came from. But that 1 week of going out and doing that turned into 40 days. So I literally stayed out for almost 40 days, just going from one house to the next, one village to the next, just capturing whatever I saw and not really doing much with it, just keeping it for my own, to live on my hard drives. It's a habit I have. But it gave me a new perspective, and it gave me a new fire that I wanted to, or a direction that I wanted to take my photography. And that's when the cultural side started to seep its way in. And I just became obsessed.
And is that something you're dipping into again now? Like, is that some kind of route that you want to reconnect with?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's gone even more from what I was doing before, was trying to learn as much as I could about local traditions and stories and customs and ceremonies and everything that was going on, just trying to get as connected to it as I could so I could understand it and then portray it in a way where maybe I could capture an entire ceremony or an entire belief or something in one series of images. And that came with like maybe staging some things and trying to maybe bring in certain dancers to do this at this location. And it was a bit more staged than what I'm doing now. Now I just love the rawness of going out with my camera and shooting street. And it's something that just holds my attention now, and I'm really enjoying.
How do you see the island at the moment? And I want to use Bali as almost a metaphor for the world in terms of tourism. And, you talked about it being a mass tourism hub pre-COVID. Now it's arguably that and more.
Yeah.
How do you, is this something that you feel strongly about generally? And how, do you see it having a negative impact on what you're interested in the most in terms of the culture, the local, indigenous people, the spirituality and the closeness that we can get if we wanted to the island?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting topic, right? Because it's really easy to play the gatekeeper. to try and play the gatekeeper and be like, I remember when Bali was this and that, and and just all that nonsense. And on one hand, yeah, it can be a little bit sad when you go to certain places that you used to revere and love, and you remember when it was just crickets. It was, you could have this beautiful location to yourself and just rolling rice fields without bamboo villas obstructing every single view and frame. But so it's easy to take that perspective, but at the same time, I kind of get a little bit of inspiration from locals who I've talked to about this topic, and just asking them, how do you feel about this influx of tourism? And of course, you get some people who are like, meh, who have a negative outlook on it. But for the most part, it just shows most Balinese people who you talk to, I would say, their perspective is just like, it's happening, and we're gonna smile. Bali keeps smiling. We're happy. Like, there's opportunities and things are happening, and we're growing and we're evolving. And so with the negatives that might come, or the surface level negatives that might come from over tourism, there's also this beautiful opportunity to be a part of something that's thriving and growing. And while we might get stuck in traffic here in Canggu with all the honks and the pollution and this and that, and new beach clubs popping up on every corner, it's also, it's just an opportunity to be able to show a juxtaposition of these worlds that are intertwining. And I think that's something that I've gotten really infatuated with lately, is going and seeing construction, seeing, right next to a local home in a local village in a 2-cot, there's this villa or restaurant being built. It shows this real timestamp, and that's only going to be, or it's only going to look the way it looks right now. And I think you can do that anywhere with photography, right? Like, that's what we're doing, is we're capturing a certain moment in time. And this moment in time in Bali is so interesting because of how much is happening. It's thriving. People have jobs, people have opportunity. And yeah, the streets might be more crowded, but you got to give credit where it's due. The Balinese are so resilient, and they're so reverent, and they're going to keep doing what they do no matter what's going on around them. And I think that that's just such a beautiful testament to this place and these people. So yeah, there's a lot of pros to come out of this wave that we're experiencing right now.
It's a good way of looking at it. And it's the same. It's not just Bali. I mean, I don't really want to isolate it just to Bali, because people may not have been to Bali and watching and listening to this, and it's indicative of many, I guess, growing economically anyway, growing cities, both economically and geographically, growing cities, growing countries around the world. All we're doing as a globe, right, is growing, because it's, we're having more and more people in the world every day, and people have more and more opportunities as we, learn, educate better and better. But, if we were to come back to this place and really, I guess you can make it analogous to any city or any new city or any, I guess, more modernized and growing place in the world. There has to be a point of diminishing returns. Bali specifically is a tourist island, right? It's known to attract holiday makers, basically, because of its beauty, because of its culture, because of its traditions, sometimes because of the party scene, etc. But you can get that anywhere. There has to be a point where, the growth goes so far to the point where it's not attractive anymore, right? So the priority has to obviously be the local population. Are we helping them, right? I say we, just the foreigners that are coming in, the foreign investment, whether they come to reside, an expat investment, or the tourism scene. We won't talk about how the government kind of play into that, but surely there has to be a point where this can't keep going forever, right? And the locals seem to be, like you said, thriving and enjoying more success in their own environments. But there has to be a point where that starts to actually detract from their success. But I don't know if I'm a bit pessimistic with that viewpoint. But I don't want, from a personal standpoint, but also from just wanting Bali to remain a place where people want to come and want to go. If they keep building, it's not going to be that place. If they keep throwing plastic in the ocean, it's not going to be that place. If they keep struggling to, get rid of trash, it's not going to be that place. If they keep bringing money in because it's money, but they don't think about the strain on the infrastructure and the strain on the future generations that may have to, live with this, then it's not going to be a beautiful place that people want to. So there is a point, right?
Yeah. I mean, very, very valid concerns. I have the same concerns. But then also just to offer the other side of it, it's one way that I've kind of tried to shift my perspective when I'm thinking, because it's so like I take the pessimist perspective as well. Too often it's too hard or it's too easy to. But if you look at other islands that are developing throughout Indonesia right now as well, Bali is leaps and bounds ahead. And it's because there are a lot of forward thinkers who are coming here. And if you look at trash, right? So like we can bring up plastic pollution problem. It's a real problem here, massive. We have a lot of it and it's very evident. But there's also the most people who are coming in. There's a lot going on, but there's also the most actions being taken to prevent it on this island. This isn't necessarily just like an influx of tourism that's creating plastic pollution. It's a lack of education in local communities.
It's not so much the tourists, it's just the locals don't know.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about it from like a historical perspective, like before foreigners started coming in and before, single-use plastics became so accessible in Indonesia from places like China and the West, every time they had a snack or something, it was wrapped in banana leaves, so it was always very just easy to, you eat something and you throw it on the ground, everything just gets thrown on the ground and it's habitual, and then all of a sudden you have Indomarts and Alpha Marts popping up everywhere with all these single-use plastics and everything's in these containers and those aqua water things are the worst. That's what you see everywhere because all the ceremonies, all the events, all the, everything has just thousands and thousands of these little plastic waters. And now you have people who are coming in and saying, oh, okay, like we've seen this happen in the West. We've seen this happen in other places. How did we correct this? Well, we set up, certain initiatives. We have people like our friend with Sungai Watch. They're doing amazing stuff here in Bali and in Java. And one other thing, most of the plastic that's washing up on Bali's beaches, a lot of it's either coming from the rivers, right? So like people are tossing it in the rivers and it's coming down and their Sungai Watch is doing an amazing job of catching it and pulling it out before it gets to the ocean. But then a lot of it's coming through the South Java Sea. You look at these areas in East Java that are just heavily polluted, like entire beaches that are just up to your waist in plastic, right? And all of that, when we get big storm systems, it's pushing it straight to Bali onto our coastline here. And so a lot of it's coming from over there. So it's not just educating in Bali, it's also educating in the most populated island in the world, Java. That's where a lot of that's happening. And so all of that being said, my point is that there's a lot of forward thinkers who are coming here and initiating real change, and it's happening at a very fast rate, and people are trying to keep up with it. But I think that you're going to have both sides of the coin. We've got all this overdevelopment coming from Chinese investment, and I mean during COVID there was a lot of Russian investment. You can't really pin it on one place, but you have people who come here and they're developing consciously, and then you have people who are coming here and not developing consciously, who are just, throwing things up to make money, get a quick return, and then don't care about how it's impacting the community.
Well, I think we're looking at the wrong people. We're looking at the lower levels of the locals and the expats, basically foreign investors, locals, and most of the time, like you said, live in perfect harmony, right? The good people don't get talked about enough, and they're the majority, right?
Yeah.
The problem I see, and it's not just Bali, and it's Indonesia. I'm talking about, because I totally agree with you on the facts that you explained, but also as in the West, it's these issues, climate change, environment, the ocean, plastic, all of these kind of environmental issues are indicative across the world, especially in developing countries. The problem, it's very easy for me to distill it down to one single problem. Of course, it's extremely nuanced and complex, especially on an isolated island like this. The government have a huge role to play in this. If you leave it to the people, you're going to get good people and bad people, and you're going to just kind of leave it. And what's going to happen? Obviously, yeah, the bad effects are probably going to outweigh the good ones because they're more dangerous and they're more severe and they're more visceral, right? We see them more. We experience them more. When we're drinking water, we're drinking microplastics because maybe someone is ignorant, or someone hasn't been educated, or someone's just stupid, right?
Yeah.
If the government, for me, don't do enough, and I just, again, mean generally, I'm not talking about Indonesia. I don't know enough about the roles the government play in these types of initiatives. But if we've got people coming in to the island, like you quite rightly said, some incredible people, forward thinkers with technology, with initiatives, with experience. How much of a role is the government playing in that to bring these people over? One thing that's always blown my mind, and yeah, I live here because I fucking love it here. But one thing that's always blown my mind is some backward thinking in not looking at other countries and looking at what they've done well and badly. Bali especially has such a great opportunity, as well as some other Indonesian islands that have such a great opportunity to learn from other countries that have done it well or done it badly. But they don't seem to. Take construction, for example, like build a house better. Like you should be able to just bring a foreigner in to teach a load of people how to do simple construction where things don't fall apart after a year. And, you know, I'm not going to get into that, but I don't see that kind of outward thinking and in learning
being implemented by the government. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a fair point.
Because just to wrap up on that, if to take your home country, right, and I want to talk about Europe and America and what's going on right now. We could, it's all good. But the good players will always get drowned out by the governmental system and initiatives and nefarious, policies and attitudes to what they want to do. They will always win, right? Because they're the ones with power. So unless we can impart change at the highest level, or impart education and goodwill at the highest level, we're all almost not wasting our time at all, but we're always just going to get beaten in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, like you said, there's higher players, and they have different prerogatives. They have a different idea of what they're looking for. When they're looking to grow and evolve and change, they're doing it based off of investment for their, overall GDP and how, so they're looking at, there's this many people coming in and investing into our country, but not how are they coming in and investing in our country. And that's where, I mean, there needs to be checks and balances, man.
Yeah, which I fear
a hard
that
thing to discuss about Indonesia, but I would like to, as best as possible, remain optimistic that with new changes in power and as things progress, we're going to see a little bit more conscious movement. But that's all we can hope for, And it's
not our place, really, as people who are.
But one thing that we can do, one thing that is our place, and this is something that I've even just sitting here talking about this is racking the back of my brain. I mean, even just as creatives, people who are here shooting and telling stories and showcasing. I mean, because let's be real, like, news and mainstream media in Indonesia, it's not really a thing, at least it's not popular. And so what people are seeing
on TikTok. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most popular here. It's the TikTok dances. But as people who are flooding the internet with content, we have a real opportunity to be able to showcase again from an optimistic point of view the people who are doing the right things. And the more that those things are being showcased to the general public, the more maybe minds can be swayed and changed to look at the positive outcome that people coming in is playing on the local community. I think the more publicized that gets, the more will initiate actual change here. People will actually have changes of perspective and be able to see that that's the right way forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to bring it back to, while I get off my political high horse, bring it back to photography and creativity, I guess, and how we as inverted quotation marks storytellers, right?
Yeah.
Us as people who have a tool and hopefully a skill that can expose a particular way of life, right? I think it's important that I get a lot of people asking me, I don't really know my style. I don't really know my voice. And the three photographers sat in this room probably have those questions asked them all the time.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's difficult for people to understand what they want to do with the camera. There's one thing just learning how to take photos. It's another thing, figuring out how you want to, I guess, show who you are, or show your work, or exactly what voice you want to have, or if you want to make any impactful change, then how do you go do that? And if not, that's fine. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to educate, or finding that avenue of what you want to do with the camera?
Yeah.
I think is really, really important. And sometimes I get challenged for just being a bit pretentious about it, and that's fine. Like it's not deep. At the end of the day, we're just people with cameras. Like, we're not curing cancer, right?
Yeah.
But I think in this instance, like, I was thinking about this a few months ago, and kind of what can I do that I would enjoy doing as a photography project that might be able to shine a light on what I'm seeing in Bali or in Indonesia generally. We talked about Sumba earlier, and it's really fascinating to see the impact of tourism. I've been a tourist my whole life. So it's like, we can't say, oh, these fucking tourists, right? We're tourists. We still are, even though we live here.
As painful as it is.
Yeah, that word, dirty word. So yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, will you kind of use your tools and your skills to showcase stories like this? Is it important for you to be able to do that?
Absolutely.
What are your plans, if any?
Yeah. Well, first off, just in regards to what you said, like the when people are looking for their voice in photography, or what it is that, if people are stuck at that crossroads, it's one that we've always, like you said, that we've all experienced. I think one of the greatest questions you can ask yourself is, well, what are you passionate about outside of photography? And too often it's very easy to pick up a camera and gain inspiration from what you're seeing from all of your favorite, photographers and creators and influencers out there who are shooting these things and going to this place and that place to get the shot. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And try and get all of the same clients that, your dream clients, working with tourism boards and beautiful destinations and, all of your favorite brands and hotel chains and this and that. Like, that's all good and fun. But if you're asking yourself, where do I want to go with my photography and what's my style? Like, what's my footprint that I want to put in this art? What are you passionate about? What conversations are you having outside of photography? What are you talking about? Are you talking about this with your friends? Are you sitting at a table and talking to your friends about what's going on in the war in Ukraine? Are you talking about what's going on politically around the world? Are you talking about like any type of social controversy? Is there something that you feel passionately about? Shoot that. You don't have to just shoot the same things as everyone else to get. That's just, it might be a roadmap, right? But if you really care that much and you're asking yourself that question, then go a little deeper. What is it that you're finding yourself talking to everybody about outside of picking up your camera, and take that and figure out how to shoot it and express that to the world. And chances are there's millions of people out there who feel the same way you do, and there is an audience for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
If you are into ingrown toenails, there is an audience for ingrown toenails.
Love the way that came into your head quickly.
I have an ingrown toenail.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's that
would be a cool abstract series, actually.
Yeah,
Just
it could be, right? But yeah, and then
also it doesn't have to be, I mean, you're totally right. And it doesn't have to be like these big existential topics, right? Social change, environmentalism, politics, war. It could just be your family. It could just be shooting new babies.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It could just be anything.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's a really good way of putting it to people. Like,
yeah.
just everyone is interested in something, whether it's video games, or Netflix, or, going out there and trying to save the world. Everyone has an interest in something, especially if you already started picking up a camera. You're that kind of curious person. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So it can be, I think those questions are the greatest segue into actually figuring out what you want to do with your art, So, yeah. And going back to your question, then, what I'm trying to do with that. I mean, it's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and that's what I love so much about photography. You know, it's something that the world is constantly changing around us. We're always going to have new interests, new things will catch our attention, and you're always going to be stimulated with something new. Like, for example, right now, it might not seem like the most interesting thing ever, but I have been stuck in my head for so long now on Gojek drivers. It's like everywhere I go, you see Gojek drivers. You know,
explain to people what Gojek is.
So it's like the Uber Eats like type system of Indonesia, right? So we have Gojek and we have Grab, and you can use it for ride sharing. You can use it for, you know, cars, bikes, delivering
Every meal.
food. They'll come and do your laundry. There used to be Go Massage. There's Go Fix. There's Go Mechanic. There's Go Everything, right? It's just Go. And these Gojek drivers are heroes in green, as we call them, because they wear their green jackets and helmets. They're everywhere. And the life of a Gojek driver is one of the most interesting things to me right now. I have dreams about it. That sounds so lame, but
gay.
It's but yeah, it's something that I've just been so interested in, and seeing them on the side of the road. Like if you stop even off the side of a main street like Batu Belong here, which is a super crowded street in Canggu, on the side of a river, you'll have a couple Gojek drivers with their little like fishing poles, their makeshift fishing poles, fishing in the side of the river until they get a call, you know, or they'll be sleeping underneath a banyan tree, or they'll be reading newspapers, or you know, there's all these different, you see Gojek drivers all over the place, and it fascinates me. And it might not seem that interesting to everybody else, but it's something that's catching my attention on a daily basis. So I want to shoot that. You know, I want to show the life of Gojek. I feel like it hasn't been represented.
And also, a lot of them you can't really see because they've got helmets most of the time when they're riding. Obviously, they've got helmets on and like big green jackets. You're like, who are these people?
Yeah, and even stopping and having like little chit chat with, like, if I see a bunch of Gojek drivers congregated on the side of the road, fishing for dinner or whatever it is that they're doing, I'll stop and I'll chat with them. If I'm not in a rush to get somewhere else, which nobody is, it's Bali. If you're in a rush, you're doing it wrong. But I'll stop on the side of the road and I'll talk to them, because it personifies these people who are heroes in green, who we're seeing every single day. These are people who have come from all over Indonesia to come here to try and have a better life, or to, you know, seek opportunity or something. They all have stories. They come from interesting villages and backgrounds and belief systems. And I mean, that's what's so great about Indonesia. It's just so diverse, and it can be simplified into these guys in green. It's a perfect representation of these people from all over the country. And I don't know, like I nerd out on very weird little things like this, but so
actually just the kindness that this area of the world personifies in the Gojek drivers, in the local people. I ran out of petrol on my bike a couple of weeks ago.
I gotcha.
And yeah, it's just like, not only could I order a Gojek to go and get a bottle of petrol for me, then bring it to me. When he brought it to me, I couldn't get the fuel cap open because one of the latch underneath was rusted.
Always.
So he was like, "Oh, just go and get you some WD-40 and, you know, no extra charge or anything like that. Just the sheer kind of, just always a nice reminder, like
absolutely
the convenience of just run out of petrol on the side of the road, go and get some guy to get me some more." Because I didn't have any cash, that's why I couldn't get mine.
Yeah,
I couldn't get my own. I was walking trying to find anything. But yeah, it was just a nice little reminder. That, like you said, everything is at their pace, and that's just super kind.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be an interesting series, man.
It's just fun things like that. And even like we were talking before about like the construction, everywhere you look, if you're coming to Bali, everywhere you look now is construction, right? And even if you go to the furthest corners, like I was looking at, I've been looking at land and opportunities up in the Jatilui area. And it's, love
rice
it up there.
fields.
Absolutely love it up there. But there's construction going on so much more than like, I mean, it's wild. Like, without going down that road again, there's more unique and interesting stories in these people that live in these tukots that are building all of these. Like, if you walk around just here in Canggu, right, all these construction sites, go out to like Sese, Chamagi, like the outer parts of Canggu. You have rolling rice fields and villa constructs, popping up. And next to them are these two cots, these like shanties, if you will. It's people who have come, whether it's like Sasak people from Lombok or Javanese people or, Sumbonese or wherever they're coming from. They come to work on these construction teams, and they live in these little like makeshift temporary shanties that they put up while they finish the project, and then they deconstruct them and move on to their next project. The life of these people sitting next, the juxtaposition of building these luxury places, and then their lives are so humble and so beautiful. They have their entire families that they've brought over from Java or wherever, and they're living in there happy as a thistle and just they have amazing stories of what brought them here and why they're doing it and why they're working this way. And the point being is there's so many interesting stories within what you're seeing on the surface going on here. And I think that's just such a beautiful thing. It's one of the things that just makes me fall in love over and over again with Bali. No matter what it is, no matter what your perspective, you can always find the most interesting stories.
What's one belief in that kind of realm as we move away from Bali? I want to hear about your evolution a little bit more in terms of photography, because you've been through a lot in the last few years, and even myself just always seems to be evolving the type of photography and style. And George sitting here is also evolving he's been doing it for years, and we're always looking for that kind of improvement, but something different. Maybe we can tell something a different way, and maybe our just organic way of seeing things is going somewhere different. Tell me something that's changed for you in that respect. Maybe one belief in photography or one concept of how you used to photograph but has changed now.
Gosh, I think it's even with what I just said, like simplicity is king now for me. I get obsessed with little small nuances, and that's what I'm finding myself the most interested in. And before, I feel like it used to be this constant struggle of trying to get the shot. You go somewhere and you try and get everything epic, everything lines up perfectly, like the mountain with the cloud and the farmer in the rice field right in front of, like, everything just had to be perfect and pristine.
The influencer at the bottom of the waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. The flowy dress coming into the lens, like, art. And I think my perspective on when I'm going somewhere to shoot has gone from doing a bunch of research on specific locations of where I want to shoot and the shot that I want to get. And now it's just, I don't give a shit.
Wing it.
Yeah, I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to show up 100%, and it makes it so much more, I feel so much more in the moment, where I'm not thinking about a particular shot. I just am interested in a particular place, or a really specific thing. And I'll go and I'll have my like, I'll be open to that, like, when it comes, but you're just shooting what you're seeing. And I think that's, to me, it's even in the content that I consume. It's just become, street photography is just, it's all I consume now. I'm obsessed. I have my newest cash pile just goes straight into books, and I've just been buying photography books and absolutely loving it, diving into it.
I just bought Alan Schaller. Do you know Alan Schaller? He's a UK
which book?
Street photographer. I can't remember. It's not even arrived yet, but it's his latest one that looked pretty epic.
Yeah.
And I'm not into really street photography at all, but I like his personality.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if you watched him on
personality comes out through his art.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it with people like even now he's sitting in the room. I'm not going to toot his whistle too much here, but George style has changed so much, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be along for that journey, because we both got really interested in cultural photography around the same time. I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's, during COVID, we became obsessed with it. And I've watched how both of us have kind of gone into our own respective styles of shooting it. But the way that George captures moments and what he's posting on Instagram now with the white borders going, away from the 4x5 curse, it's inspiring, and I love to see it. There's other photographers who I follow it's completely leaps and bounds different from what I used to follow and consume on social media. People like, do you know Billy D?
Yeah.
Shout out to Billy D. Amazing photographer. Just like you said before, like his work, his personality comes out through his work, and it's just it's amazing. I love it. It's you really feel like you're along for a journey instead of reading these captions about, oh, I'm going to this place and blah 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 and my life is so great. It's just very simple. You don't even need a caption.
I think we're through the influencer culture, aren't we? And touch wood, yeah. And interesting, you talked about Instagram and how you still consume a lot of most photographers these days, including myself, still consume our, I guess, inspiration and other people's work through social media. And there's always kind of this balance, isn't there? And social media kind of can influence us too much, maybe where we go down the route of doing a specific style because we feel like we want to be like someone that we see is doing well on Instagram, let's say, or we actually want to grow ourselves on Instagram because we feel like that's a money-making tool, or we want the validation and we want to give ourselves a tap on the back through the tool of likes and follows, right?
Yeah, validation.
How much does that play into your toolkit now?
Oh, not at all. Could care less. I think it depends on what you want from it. If you are seeking validation through likes and that's fire comments, then yeah, go for it.
True.
Bro, drooling emoji. Yeah, if that's where you're finding your fulfillment, good for you. I'm not here to knock it at all, but
let's knock it a little bit.
All right. But for me, I don't care. I rarely post as it is, and that's not a flex. I'm not saying that to be pretentious in any way. That's actually just an inhibition. I should be posting more. I should be sharing my work. I don't even know what you asked. Now my mind's just gone down.
Wait, I'm trying to I'm trying to put we've got I guess 3 relatively established photographers in the room, and I'm trying to put myself in beginner shoes again in today's world as a photographer. It's so much competition.
Yeah.
1 billion photos uploaded to one platform every day, let alone the other platforms that we all need to pay attention to because we don't put eggs in one basket. And then you can't even post still images and grow on platforms because you got to do videos. And then do I even want to grow? Is it going to take up too much time? Am I able to do it full time? Where do I go? What website do I build? What style do I want? It's like, as a beginner photographer these days, and we've all been there, right? It can be overwhelming. So when social media gets thrown into it, I'm just trying to how much attention should one pay it as maybe someone hobbyist who's, okay, I'm pretty good at photography. I kind of know what I'm doing. I have the odd client maybe in my spare time. How much attention should I be paying to these platforms?
Yeah. I guess like I said before, I think it just depends on what it is you're trying to do.
Right.
If you do have these high hopes for these clients and this is how you get that, Instagram's a great tool. Social media is a great tool. Yeah. It gets your work out there. But I would say, just like any other douchebag with a mic, quality over quantity, and don't just conform, to what you think is working for the algorithm. If you want to grow, then yes, you will have opportunities that come out of growth. I've watched it with all of my friends. And I did take a different approach. I don't beat myself up over it, but could I have had more opportunities, different opportunities, had I put more time into that? Yeah. But, the things that I've posted and the attention that it's gotten from the people who I wanted it to get the attention from, that's all that really matters. I get a whole lot more satisfaction out of one particular follow than I do from 10,000 follows.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I've gotten out, not to put myself above this by any means at all. Like I said, I've dropped the ball when it comes to that, approach. But, I care way more about progressing in the way that I want to progress and getting the attention from the people who have a general interest in the things that I'm showcasing. It's my art at the end of the day, you know, and if it's my art, then I don't care if you don't like it. You know, I don't need to make a 15-second reel with a color grade change and the right song and this and that just to get likes and attention. And, you know, nah, man, I hope that the clients that I want to work with don't give a shit about that either.
Yeah.
You know, they'll look at the work, they'll look at the portfolio, they'll look at me as a person.
So how do you grow? How do you make money essentially from your work without a social media? I mean, you do have a social media, but I'm saying hypothetically, if you don't really kind of put time into social media, what's the best approach and avenues to take to kind of get work essentially?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody. For me, I've been very fortunate where kind of coming up in this Instagram photographer age, I had a lot of friends who were doing amazing things, and I built a great community of people. And I had hands extended to me with opportunities, and people who knew me and knew my work and knew what I could do, who extended a hand and an opportunity to me. And then from there, it's like you meet people on set for one project, and then they like you, they like what you produce, and they give you another opportunity. And then you take that and you meet more people, and then they have a project going on in this country at this time, and you get another opportunity, and it piggybacks. So it's a constant, you know. But that being said, there is a very big negative to that and that approach. Whereas if I stop working, like for example, in this past, you know, period that I went through where I wasn't my best, I cut off from everyone, and I stopped communicating with people, and I shelled in a bit. And when that happened, I lost a lot of opportunities. I lost a lot of clients, because clients will then go and find the next person. You know, if you're not responding, life moves on. So they'll go to the next person. And then once you don't find yourself on project sets anymore, it's harder to network in the way that I've always networked and the way that I've gotten opportunities. So yeah, I'm able to sit here and admittedly say, like, I wouldn't suggest to people to go about it the way that I've gone about it. But there are different ways of finding success and outcomes.
So if you were starting today, how would you do things differently?
Oh man, nightmare. I wouldn't. No, I'm just kidding.
Choose a different career.
I don't know, man. Gojek. Be a hero in green.
This is pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, I really think, one, if I was, depending on who I'm talking to, I guess, you know, and what they're telling me they want to do, I would say what we were talking about before. Think about what it is that you really want to shoot. What do you have, or not what you really want to shoot. What are you passionate about? What are you interested in? Go shoot that and see what other people who maybe, and you don't even have to look at what other people are doing, actually. Just shoot what it is that's on your heart and what you're passionate about, and network and meet people who are doing similar, maybe, and let opportunities, you know, don't pass up opportunities, I guess.
Yeah.
Man, that's a hard question, because that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
To start over. I just did it.
And that's why the question is quite salient, I guess, because you've kind of done it twice.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Done it a few times.
Throw COVID in there, and everyone's had to
COVID
reinvent
was another
themselves.
one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did during COVID. Found something that I wanted to do in my own boredom, and went and found things that I wanted to shoot and I wanted to capture, and man, opportunities came. At that time, there was nobody else really doing that here. So I was getting opportunities to become, I didn't even know a cultural photographer was a thing. Like, I mean, back then when we're all just posting, you know, the same old stupid stuff everybody was posting, not stupid stuff. I shouldn't be so harsh. Whatever. I started posting these things, and people were reaching out to me, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this was a Like I've had opportunities with hotel groups and tourism boards and NGOs. Like, I mean, I've worked, majority of my work over the last 5 years has been with humanitarian projects and NGOs and people who wanted to hire somebody to do exactly what I wanted to do, create impact-driven content and have my perspective actually, I don't know, make a little bit of a difference if it can. And that all just came from kind of staying, at least in my own mind, staying true to what I wanted to do and not being swayed by popularity.
Love it. Staying true to what you do. What does the future look like? Do you care about leaving a body of work, or, you know, where do you even go to? What are you worried about? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, it certainly creeps in, you know, those thoughts creep in. What am I doing?
Yep. Every day.
What is the accumulation of my work and my life? Am I wasting time, or am I doing something that's going to have a positive impact? And, I mean, that's it. I want to keep doing things that have a positive impact, and I'll make sure that I'm shooting the things that are interesting to me. I'm interacting with people who are interesting to me. I'm giving back to the things that I'm passionate about and that pull at my heartstrings. And the more I do that, I mean, I'm a firm believer in what you get what you put out, you know? And so, not with the intention of receiving, but, I'm going to keep living the way I'm living and doing what I'm doing and being hopefully a positive light. And hopefully my work reaches the right people to have the opportunities that my work's supposed to reach.
Do you think the opportunities are still as present as ever?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's all of the arguments with like, man, I know nothing about it. I use AI and I guess my editing, you know, softwares, a little bit here and there to denoise or whatever, but I know there's a lot of conversation about, where that's going and how it's affecting the industry, but I don't pay much mind to it. I'm not interested in it. And I'm still I'm still putting food on my table. I'm still progressing, and I'm actually doing a bit better than I ever have, which is good. I've diversified my interests and what I'm putting my time into as far as business. Putting a lot of time into the relationships that, you know, fuel me. And, yeah, I mean, I can only hope that I have a lasting impact, you know, that my work will have a lasting impact. But speaking of that, like one thing that I am getting more into is just doing series. I want to do print series. I want to be doing, you know, things that have a physical, you know, you can put your hands on and see books. And, you know, I'm obsessed with books right now. So, and prints. I'm buying prints for my house and just, I love it.
I love prints. Yeah, I've always been a print guy.
Yeah, me too.
Hopefully it's coming back. Well, if you want to exhibit your prints here, you're more than welcome
to. I appreciate
You'll probably
it, man.
Get there before Josiah does anyway.
He's got to get his prints out of my bathroom first.
They're big as well.
Yeah, they are. I'm just staring at Chelsea underwater every time I'm taking a dump.
Could be worse.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm going to finish with a final question. And I want to, you know, the kind of arc of all these questions really is kind of what you've learned over the last few years. But even if you want to go back further, I'm interested to hear about any misconceptions that you had about photography and being a photographer in the world, and how that might have changed. Any misconceptions that you had before that have been expunged or have changed since then?
Wow, good question. Misconceptions. I don't know. I think just one thing that I've learned is God, this is going to sound so cliche. Whatever. I mean, anything's possible. And if you're interested in something, odds are other people will be too. So being scared about how your work is going to be received, and, you know, oh, these opportunities aren't going to come, or, oh, it's too saturated, or, oh, I got into this too late, or, oh, I took a break, so now I can't get back into it, or, oh, I haven't posted on Instagram in 3 months, so I need to write some detailed caption about what I've been doing and clarify that I'm back. You know, all of these things.
One gives a shit.
It's just not necessary. No one gives a shit. We don't need to talk about it. No one's noticed that you're gone. It's not a big deal. So yeah, I think those are the only real misconceptions that I've had. Maybe like where I've thought that people care. It's that sad.
But you're true. Like in the externalities, you're very true. You're very correct with that. No, it's certainly in the social media world, no one truly cares. And those that do are your loyal fans. And like you said earlier, which I 100% believe in, I've kind of learned the hard way as well. There's an audience for everyone. So don't worry too much about, making people happy and appealing to the most amount of people that you can. Obviously, if you can improve and grow your audience, fantastic. But as long as that audience is the right audience, there's an audience for everyone, no matter how well you take photos of toenails or whatever you're taking photos of. So yeah, I think that's a really great lesson to learn and a great lesson to end with. Thanks so much for coming back, man, and being the OG of the podcast. And
number one.
Hopefully, we won't be another 2 years, but
yeah. Well, I'll be ready for it.
We'll be following your evolution in the meantime. Thanks for your time, man. It's always great to have you.
See you soon.